Hello everybody and welcome back to The Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, the Lost Planeswalker, and today we're doing a deck around the Jolly Balloon Man, which is a very scary card. I'm not really good at this Duskmourn horror stuff, and this guy just creeps me out. But let's see how the Jolly Balloon Man works and why you should build a deck around him. So the Jolly Balloon Man is a haste creature that for 1 and tap, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control, except it's a 1/1 red balloon creature in addition to its other colors and types, and it has flying and haste. Sack it at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. The way this deck is going to be laid out, we're going to look at creating tokens, some really big payouts, some value cards that are going to give us value for making or having our creatures die, and then lastly, the good stuff. So let's dive right in and look at how we're going to create more tokens on our turns.
So we want to be looking at creating tokens by doubling up our commander's effects. So the 3 cards I think would do that very well are Battle Mage's Bracers, Helm of the Host, and Illusionist's Bracers. Battle Mage Bracers, 2 and a red, artifact equipment, equipped creature has haste, and whenever an ability of an equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 1. If you do, copy that ability, and you may choose new targets for the copy. This is going to allow us to make 2 creature tokens, doubling up the effects of our deck. Helm of the Host, additionally for generic legendary artifact equipment. At the beginning of combat on our turn, creates a token copy of equipped creature, except it isn't legendary. If the token is legendary, and gives them haste, meaning that at the beginning of combat, we can again create another copy of our commander, we can trigger, and if we have something attached to it, like Illusionist Bracers, that'll trigger an additional time. So 2 artifact equipment, whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability, you may choose new targets for the copy. Illusionist Bracers are a staple card in decks like this. It's going to be very, very powerful. But what are some other ways we can get multiple triggers per turn? That would be untapping effects, which unfortunately in red and white there are some, but the best ones I think are in blue. So we have to use what we got here, but we have Mage Right Stone, 1000-Year Elixir, and Umbra Mantle. Mage Right Stone is 2 generic artifact that for 1 we can tap to untap target creature with an activated ability in its mana cost. This is a great way to untap our commander and be able to do it again for very cheap. 1000-Year Elixir, very similar. 3 generic artifact. You may activate abilities of creature you control as though they have haste, meaning that we can immediately activate our commander if it comes out on a following turn. And then for 1 and tap, untap target permanent. But maybe the most powerful if we have infinite mana is Umbra Mantle. Equipped creature gets 3 and untap this creature. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and then you can equip it for 0. This is a staple card in combo decks that have infinite mana generation, allowing you to activate things infinite number of times because this allows you to untap it for just 3 generic. A great card, and will really power up the Jolly Balloon Man. Some other creature token creating cards here. We have Caretaker's Talent, Determined Iteration, Muster the Departed, Nesting Dovehawk, Rootborn Defense, Song of the World Soul, and Sundial of the Infinite.
Now, before we get back to those big payout creatures, I would just like to say, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. It would mean the world to me. Another thing that would mean the world to me is if you would check out my Patreon. I just created it, and it would mean a lot if you would check it out, maybe subscribe to it, or just follow me and see what I do. I'm going to be doing a ton of public posts, but the entire goal of this is to better connect me with my audience and really get people who want to see what I do and want me to succeed. I'm going to be posting polls on there, try to figure out what content I do next, and, just get general comments back from people about what they want to see, because I want to make content you're really interested in. So let's dive right back in and look at those big payout creatures.
Now we're going to look at some creatures that are going to give us really big payouts, starting with big effects during combat damage. We have Ancient Copper Dragon, Ancient Gold Dragon, and Angrath's Marauders. Ancient Copper Dragon and Ancient Gold Dragon both trigger off of combat damage and have you roll a d20. Now, in Ancient Copper's case, we're going to make a number of treasure tokens equal to the result, and Ancient Gold Dragon is going to create a number of 1/1 blue fairies, dragon creature tokens with flying as a result. Both of these are going to generate a ton of resources that just make it so great to have just this 1/1 get through. Additionally, Angrath's Marauders is a 7-drop that doubles the amount of damage a permanent or player would take if it's dealt damage by a permanent we control, meaning that the 1/1s aren't going to hit for a lot, but this 7/10 Ancient Gold Dragon is actually now going to hit for 14 if it connects, meaning if we can make additional copies of this and keep it on the board while we swing with our Ancient Gold Dragon while we have Ingrath's Marauders out, it's going to double twice to now 28, which is a really, really cool effect that's going to be able to end games very quickly. Talking about really powerful attack triggers, we have Aerial Extortionist, Angel of Destiny, and Blinding Angel. Aerial Extortionist is great because when it enters, or whenever we make a copy of it, it's going to exile a target non-land permanent our opponent controls. They may cast it from exile, but we're then going to be able to swing at that token right away, being able to potentially exile another thing. We're going to get the added benefit that if the original sticks around, we get to draw cards if they want to recast those things. Another really powerful effect is Angel of Destiny, 3 white with flying and double strike. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player gain that much life. Then at the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life, more than your starting life total, each player Angel of Destiny attack this turn loses the game. There's a lot of ways we're going to be able to gain a ton of life, and this works very, very well for us because if we make copies of this, we're doubling up the life we're gaining off of Angel of Destiny, and we can attack multiple opponents, knocking out multiple people per turn if we have more than that 15 life. And then Blinding Angel, one of my favorite cards that I don't think I've ever seen anybody else play, but for 3 white, you get a creature angel with flying, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player skips his or next combat phase. If you're up against an opponent who maybe has a massive board but can't deal with flyers, you can permanently lock them out of combat for the rest of the game. The Jolly Balloon Man will let you do that to multiple opponents, maybe letting you work with somebody else to swing through and kill them, or you can just steadily knock everybody out of the game. Now, we definitely have some large payoffs for either creating or hitting, and I think these next 3 cards represent that very well, with Incinerator of the Guilty, Industrial Advancement, and Port Razor. Incinerator of the Guilty is a new dragon from the Murder at Karlov Manor set, which is 4 red creature dragon with flying and trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may collect evidence X. When you do, Incinerator of the Guilty deals X damage to each creature in each planeswalker that player controls. This is one of the best copies and what I really like to see because it doesn't matter how big it is, it's just as long as it connects, we get to collect evidence here, and we can just wipe out an opponent's entire board, leaving them open for our other opponents to swing in or for us to just take them out the next turn. A really interesting enchantment that I think works super well in this deck is Industrial Advancement. 3 in a red enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, you may sack a creature. If you do, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that creature's mana value. You may put a creature card from among them into the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Notably here, whenever we create a copy, we are copying the mana value. So whenever our token would go away at the end of the turn, instead we can sacrifice it to this and be able to pull something onto the battlefield for free, getting awesome value for doing nothing in return. And then Port Razor, 3 red creature orc pirate that says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. Then Port Razor can't attack a player it has already attacked this turn. Doing this multiple times will untap our commander, allowing us to make multiple copies and swing with those copies during the additional combats, potentially just getting extremely good value. Some of those other really good big payout creatures are Bloodthirster, Cavern Horde Dragon, Fanatic of Mogus, Hellkite Tyrant, Aragas Erupting Nullkite, and Wormcoil Engine. Next up, I want to talk about some great value cards that are going to allow us to get some additional benefit from creating or sacrificing the tokens we make with the Jolly Balloon Man. We have Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, Fury, and then Inferno Titan. Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, 2 red legendary creature dragon spirit with flying and trample. When it dies, you choose one, exile up to 2 cards from your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards, or you create 3 treasure tokens. Notably here, this is a legendary creature, which normally you wouldn't want to play whenever you're creating a copy, because it's going to trigger the legend rule and you have to sacrifice one of them right away. But if you're in the early game and you need some additional mana, for 1 mana you can generate 3 treasure tokens and then be able to cast something way bigger on your following turn and make a copy of that with the Jolly Balloon Man instead. So that's why Atsushi is here in the deck. Also, Fury and Inferno Titan bring very similar play strategies to the battlefield here, with when they enter, they're going to deal damage. And Inferno Titan is going to give you that additional 3 damage on attack as well, allowing you to clear the board of some threats, which I think is very cool. Some other great value cards here is Coercive Recruiter, Cursed Mirror, Dazzling Theater and Prop Room, Dollmaker's Shop, and Porcelain Gallery, Ember Wild Captain, Enduring Courage, Enduring Innocence, Neheb Dreadhorde Champion, Sun Titan, Tokasha's Welcome, Welcoming Vampire, and Zealous Conscripts. Lastly, of course, we have some good stuff, and I think there's some really great removal, especially in these colors, some of which we've gotten recently that I wanted to talk about. Rip Apart, Untimely Malfunction, and Unwanted Remake. Now, Rip Apart obviously was from Strixhaven, which was a couple years ago, but it's a great way to destroy artifacts or enchantments, or deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker for only 2 mana. Untimely Malfunction is 1 in a red, instant, choose 1, destroy target artifact, change the target of target spell or ability with a single target, or 1 or 2 creatures can't block this turn. A very good card. I think is going to be actually one of the best uncommons from the set. Another great uncommon from this set is Unwanted Remake. Single white instant that lets you destroy target creature and its controller manifests dread. The remaining good stuff in this deck is Abrade, Arcane Signet, Big Score, Boros Charm, Boros Signet, Commander Sphere, Exercise, Veil the Mighty, Final Showdown, Jessica's Will, Reprieve, Soul Ring, Split Up, Stroke of Midnight, Swiftfoot Boots, Talisman of Conviction, and then Wear and Tear. As always, the land base is up to you. The current cost of this deck did come up a little more expensive than I was hoping it to. So whether or not you pick all the cards I go to build with, you know, some of those big hitters being Ancient Copper Dragon, and then some of the other big payoff creatures that are between $15 to $20, you know, you can definitely modify your land base accordingly, but there's not too many cards that require an abnormal number of mana pips in order to cast.
Thank you so much for watching. The Jolly Balloon Man is a really, really neat commander, and I think there's a lot of really cool ways you can end up building him. You know, we're going to be creating these tokens, which aren't going to be legendary, so we really focus pretty heavily around creatures that aren't legendary in this deck, which is, you know, something that you see a lot in these copy decks, but he kind of adds a different twist to it that I think is even more fun. Let me know in the comments, you know, what kind of creatures did you add to your deck, or were you looking at adding that I didn't? Or is there an entirely different playstyle that I missed? I would love to hear about in the comments down below. In addition, if you would please leave a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe, that would mean the world to me, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Now today's Scryfall card of the day is Debilitating Injury. If weakness does not exist within the teamer, then we shall force it upon them. Sidisi, Khan of the Sultai. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.